another episode of Late TV Fights. It's been a while, but we've got another debut match here. We've got Matt Graham and Joe Farrelly jumping into the ring. But first, I'll introduce my judges. I've got Kevin Poss here. Kevin, how are you going?
I'm doing well. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I'm doing well. Sorry about that.
It's
And
a
just looking forward to this match. I've looked over the questions, and it looks like it'll be a good match.
And also here you've seen him around a few times, but it's Nikki Sullivan. Nikki, how are you going here?
Hey man, how's it going? Yeah, just looking forward to Past Judgment, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Now let's introduce the competitors. Coming in first, you may have seen his name around a few times. He hosts an After Dark show, but it's Matt Graham. Matt, how are you feeling about this match?
I'm excited. Let's go. Come on, buddy. Let's get in the ring. Let's fight.
And also here, he's been waiting patiently for a while. He's gone through a few different opponents, I believe, but it's Joe Farrelly. Joe, how are you feeling about this match?
Yeah, it's looking good. I say it's my first TV fight. I've had a few trivia matches in this division and other divisions, but looking forward to this. It's nice to have someone to argue with rather than myself in my own head.
But yeah, but how this works is they get 4 prepared questions, and they prepared topics, and then I'll give them. They get 90 seconds opening, 5-minute main round, and 1-minute closing, and that's probably the worst explanation I've given. But then if they get a tie after the 4th question, then they go into the speed round. So we'll find out if they're going to get there. We haven't had a lot of people get to the speed round, so it's going to be interesting. But the first question we have is, who is the best television kid? And I'm going to go to Matt Graham first on this. Matt, you've got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Well, best child is somebody that you want to have for your own. Somebody who looks up to you. Somebody who wants to do something that their father or mother did. And there's clearly one child that obviously that is, and that's Bobby Hill. Bobby looks up to everybody. He tries to be the best friend he can. He tries to be the best child he can. When you look at him, he may be a little off, but he does everything out of the love that he has for his parents. And I'll concede the rest.
And finishing, we'll see how that pays off. But then, Joe, it's on to you for your 90-second start when we begin talking.
There's only one name popped into my head when I heard this question. And even after I thought this name, I considered some others, but I couldn't think of any. And that is one Leopold Butters Stotch from South Park. Butters is the kid we all want to have. He's got that amazing innocence about him that just makes him the most lovable kid. It took him 5 seasons to get his very own episode, but after that, he became one of the most beloved characters on the show. And some people are probably thinking, yeah, but that show's full of asshole kids that no one really likes. But there's more than just the main 4. There's plenty of other kids in that show, and Butters still stands out. 25 seasons in now, Butters is still one of the most lovable, likable characters in all of TV, let alone kids in TV.
Also finishing early, we'll see that pays off. I'm going to set 5 minutes on the clock, and time begins when someone starts talking.
Matt, Bobby is no different from a Steve Smith or a Chris Griffin type character. You know, he's a good kid. He's a fun kid. He's had some really standout moments, but there's nothing that really sets him apart from any of the other standard kids you get in TV. He's done some pretty bad things too, and Butters is just the most innocent kid. The worst thing he ever tried to do was copy a couple of things from The Simpsons to destroy the world. But he was just a kid using his imagination. You know, the amount of characters he's come up with, Big Texas Butters, Professor Chaos, there's nothing you can say that's bad about Butters.
So you're saying that there isn't. How about the fact when they get the ninja weapons from the mall? Butters is the one that gets hurt and gets them all taken away. Butters is the butt of everybody's joke. When you talk about kids, you've got to look up to somebody who looks up to their parents, who is the role model of them all. And that's Bobby Hill. Bobby is the one that everybody looks at him. Yes, his dad may look at him from time to time and go, that boy ain't right. But he isn't the butt of everybody's joke.
You may say that, but you say he looks up to his dad. He once kicked his dad below the belt, shall we say. No kid should be doing that to their own father. The kid switched Leanne's birth control pills with sweet tarts. He ruined Thanksgiving and caused a girl to break up with her boyfriend. What Butters, like I said, he's got that innocence, you know. He always tries to find the positives in a situation. A quote from Butters that perfectly illustrates this is the quote, "The only way I can feel sad now is if there was something good that happened before." What a great outlook for a kid that age to have. You know, you say about the ninja weapons, they threw a ninja star in his eye. Of course he's going to have the weapons taken away. But he still didn't want to tell his parents, didn't want to get the other kids in trouble, and didn't want to get himself grounded. That's respect for his parents. He's always afraid of getting grounded, never pushes the envelope too far. But he's always willing to stand up to bullies, even when, in one case, they were his own grandmother.
You talk about Bobby kicking his dad in the nuts. How many of us haven't gotten in fights with our parents? My son and I have gotten into, we've tossed each other around and he's kicked me in the nuts. He was doing what his dad told him to do, and was to go down and learn to protect himself from the local Y. Yes, Bobby may have screwed up and went into the wrong class, but what did he do? He went down and got into a self-defense class. Now, Butters, yeah, he might be, Mr. Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy, but that makes him the comic relief of a show that's all comic relief. I mean, they threw the ninja star at his eye. If he was Kenny, he would have died. How many episodes other than the Professor Chaos ones is he the star of the show? He's not. Half of King of the Hill is the family dynamic between Hank, Bobby, and Peggy.
How many does he stand out in one of the finest episodes of all time, Butler's Bottom Bitch? He is the king of that episode, and it's just, again, about his innocence of not understanding the situation. He's just a kid. He has that innocence. That's why he is the best. And again, the only point you've illustrated is the one about kicking his dad in the nuts. Nothing about ruining Thanksgiving. Nothing about switching a girl's birth control pills with sweet tarts. That is just not acceptable. That is not on. That is not just down to the parenting. That is down to the kid's attitude himself. Butters would never do anything like that. It's all just the innocence and not understanding the situation. You look at the Return of the Fellowship, the Ring to the Two Towers, when he watches a porn film instead of the Lord of the Rings and thinks that's what Lord of the Rings is. That kid, bless him, is the best part of that show, and he's the best kid in TV.
He's the best kid of the show. Are we talking about a different show? Because I'm sorry, but the best part of South Park are the 4 main characters. And I repeat, main character. Butters was brought on as a side character. And he said a couple of main episodes. There are plenty of King of the Hill episodes that Bobby is the main. And yes, he did switch out his cousin's birth control for Sweet Tart. But what did they do to make it up to him? His family got together to mess with him and actually convinced him that his cousin was pregnant. And ruining Thanksgiving? I'm sorry, but we've all done that. I accidentally one year when I was about their age was supposed to add pepper to the stuffing. The lid came off and all the pepper dumped in. We've all had those mistakes.
There was definitely a main round, but it's not over yet. Because Matt went first on the opening, Joe, you're going to go first on the closing. You got 1 minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
In closing, with TV, especially with kids in TV, you need to show the kid to be the ideal kid, and that is the innocence. That's the main point I'm going with, but is how just innocent and how he views the world. It's amazing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Bobby is a good kid. He's good for that sort of coming of age character about learning for kids to grow up. But the problem is he's no different to most of the other kids you see on TV, whether it is Chris Griffin, Steve Smith, to a lesser extent, Bart Simpson. Butters is the kid we all wanted to be and the kid we all want to have.
All right, Matt, 1 minute is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
The best kid on TV is the one that you want to have at home. And if we're talking about the two, I want to have Bobby Hill. I want to have a kid that is looking up to me, looks at his parents and sees gods almost. Yes, Bobby has had a little bit of ups and downs. You compare him to Chris or Steve, no. But you talk about Butters. Butters is basically the Disney Channel version of a South Park character. He's not the main character. He's not exactly somebody who you're own of every show. Sorry.
And there was definitely an interesting battle, but yeah, if I was judging this on my own, I wouldn't know which way to go, but I'm not. I'm going to go to Nikki first on this. Who gets the point and why?
Yeah, I was surprised that they both went with animated comedy characters, but I got to go with Joe for the point. I thought he had a better argument overall. His points were more concise, and yeah, that's what I would go with.
Yep. Kevin, who are you going to give your point to and why?
Well, Matt made a lot of good points as far as Bobby being, he did have a lot of episodes, but he was like Joe kept saying, he was the Steve Smith, the Chris Griffin, the Bart Simpson of that show. He was basically the only youth in the center core family of the show. So the fact that Butters did stand out so much, or does stand out so much in a show full of characters that are all the same, and the fact that he can have his own characters like his side characters, I have to give that point to Joe.
Yep. So Joe does get the point. Joe goes 1-0 in the first question, but the next one is a fun one because there's a pitch question, and I've got them to recast How I Met Your Mother with new actors, and because it is a pitch question, I am going to change up the pitch questions because just to make it fair on everyone, because pitch ones are really hard to do for time limit. For the opening, there's no time limit, but I will cut them off if I feel like they've said enough, so they can establish their cast, and then the main round will be 7 minutes, and then it's just the usual 1 minute closing as well. So I thought that's a fair way to do the pitch questions because it's really hard to do the establish the pitch within the main round. But yeah, hopefully that makes some sort of sense. But yeah, but Joe, you're going to go first for your opening. Set up your new cast for How I Met Your Mother if it gets rebooted.
Okay, so we're rebooting How I Met Your Mother. So we need to go with a nice, fresh, young cast, people sort of mid to late 20s to sort of get this show back on the road. So for Ted Mosby, I have chosen Nick Robinson, who you may know was the lead in the film Love, Simon. He's a great young actor, definitely perfect for a lead role in a sitcom. For Marshall Erickson, I've gone with a co-star of his from Love, Simon, Jorge Lendenborg Jr. You may also know him as being one of the announcers on the TV station in the school in Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. Robin Schabotsky, I've gone with a British actress who recently hit big in the film Crawl, Kea Scodelario, also known over here for Skins. For Lily Aldrin, or Lily Erickson as she becomes, I've gone with Billy Lord, who we all know as Carrie Fisher's daughter, has made a hit in some background, some extra characters in some Star Wars movies, and also hit big in Booksmart this year. And finally, for Barney Stinson, I've also gone with a former child actor who needs to be brought back into the fray, with the guy who played Dewey in Malcolm in the Middle, Eric Per Sullivan. This cast, again, they've already got some of that chemistry, especially between Jorge and Nick. You've got a nice young cast, an up-and-coming cast, so no one's really got that type cast, or you don't know what to expect from them. It's going to be a fun show.
Right, so we've heard Joe's pitch, and so Matt, pitch us your new cast for How I Met Your Mother.
Well, with mine, I went a little bit older. When you see that How I Met Your Mother first started, they were actually a little bit older. So I went with a little bit older cast. For Ted, I went with Jason Biggs. Now, yeah, you're going, wait, the guy from American Pie? Yes, he actually plays a really amazing character in Orange is the New Black. For Marshall, he's kind of the funnier, kind of, polite but lovable character. And if you've seen We're the Millers, Jason Sudeikis can do both. He can be funny, but he can also kind of tug at the heartstrings. For Robin, I went with Alexandra Daddario, who you may have seen in San Andreas, but the reason I chose her is actually the character she played in White Collar. She kind of played this wannabe badass, and that's what you want with Robin. For Lily, I chose Haley Kuko from The Big Bang Theory. She can be kind of, she can be innocent if she really wanted to be, but she can also play a little over the top like she does in Big Bang Theory. Now, Barney's the one that kind of gave me a little bit of trouble. He starts out kind of hippie-ish, kind of, oh, we've got to protect the women. But by the end of the story, he's a womanizer. And he has to look good in his suit. So with that, I chose Matt Bomer from White Collar as well. Some of these characters have played together, so their chemistry is already there. So that's one thing that they would have, is some of these paths have already crossed. So their chemistry on screen's better.
Right, so we've got it's old established versus new and up and coming. So this is going to be a really interesting battle. 7 minutes is on the clock, and time begins when someone starts talking.
Man, this cast is all over.
Now, everybody.
Yeah, go on.
So now, Joe, you picked people that are movie stars. That's all and good, but a lot of the times, some movie stars have the trouble making the switch from the big screen to the small screen. I mean, if you look at Carl Urban when he was in Being Human, he said that the work schedule was horrible. It was hard for him. At least the people I picked have TV experience.
I agree, but your cast is all over the place. Big, Sudeikis and Cuoco are all older now than the original cast were when How I Met Your Mother premiered. Sudeikis is older than Jason Segel. There's 10 years difference between there's 10 years difference between the ages of your cast. The originals had 4 years between them, and that's just Lily, Marshall, and Ted. We're supposed to believe these people all went to college together. I don't buy it. I can't see it. We want to believe that they're mid to late 20s, early 20s, fresh out of college. Robinson and Lendenborg, they've got that established chemistry from Love, Simon. And talk about being a badass. Did you see Crawl? Kay Scalera is a badass. She was badass in Crawl. She was badass in the Maze Runner films. And you don't even have to change that much by casting her. She's not Canadian. She's British. Okay, Robin's love of hockey becomes a love of football, or for you heathens, soccer. But either way, it's a very small change. She's got that badassness. She can lead. She can step to the side. She's done it all. And as for Lily, you want someone who's got those comedy chops who can stand out, book smart. Look at Billy Lord. She stole that movie, and that is what Billy Lord will do in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, but you keep bringing up these movies, though, or you bring up these movies. Why? What makes you think that they'll have that same chemistry or be able to keep up with the schedule of working television? Yes, mine are older, but who says it has to be a shot-for-shot remake, though? Who says it can't, they can't readjust the story a little bit and make them a little older? I mean, so if you were going to do the same thing, then why not just watch the original? I mean, so we changed the story a little bit because of they're being a little older, so they're actually a little bit further into their career. I mean, we all know that, there's going to be the death. He is telling his kids how he met their mother because she died. So who can't be a little bit older?
I mean, the whole show is a flashback. If Jason Biggs is telling his kids' story about how they met the mother, he should look younger. The kids should be looking at someone Jason Biggs or Jason Sudeikis' age already. It doesn't have that flashback element to it. And the only person I actually didn't mention in my last part was the only other part of cast. How great would it be to see little Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle back on our screens again? They did it with the MPH. He only had a few small roles after Doogie Howser until, he broke out again in Harold and Kumar, which again was a movie and then ended up getting the TV show because of it. And
you forgot Super Troopers, though. He was the star of Super Troopers. He was one of the stars of Super Troopers. And then he had Super Troopers 3, and he was in 2 and 3. He didn't just fall off the radar, though.
So you agree you can be in movies and then make the transition to TV?
Yeah, but you're talking about a young cast. These are kids. And so
they're in their
we go with a little bit older, and How I Met Your Mother brought people that we knew into the screen. So why not have these big names come into it?
They're in their mid-20s. Jason Segel was 25 when he started filming How I Met Your Mother. These guys are around the same age. Ted was a little bit older, but everybody was all around 25, 26, with Ted being 31, So it's not beyond the realms of possibility for these guys to play these parts.
And so you're telling me that mine are too old to start playing this part?
Jason Sudeikis is older.
If you actually look at this cast together, they would be perfect. So they're a little further out of college. Maybe they've started their career, not just starting. Because don't forget that half of them wanted to be in the Peace Corps, which you have to be in the Peace Corps for 2 years.
I get that, but, Jason Sudeikis is 10 years older than Kaylee Cuoco. That's something that I really don't want to see on my screen. It feels creepy. It feels like it's just not the right cast. The cast just feels all over the place.
Yeah, but if you're going to have somebody as a Jason Sudeikis, you need somebody like Kaylee Cuoco who can have the comedic chops to keep up with him.
Personally, I'm interested in seeing something new, something different, seeing what these new actors can bring.
Which is exactly what mine would be.
I want to see, see what Jorge Lendenborg Jr. can do with that relationship with Billy Lord. How's that going to develop? They both got great comedy chops. They both got great drama chops. I want to put them together to see what they can bring. One of the most heartbreaking scenes in all of How I Met Your Mother is when Lily has to tell Marshall that his father's dead. And I want to see that. I want to see that from new actors. I want to see what they can bring, and I want to see them break out. even bigger than they already have.
So then why not cast completely unknowns? Then why didn't you go even more unknown than people that have starred in young adult franchise?
I mean, we're hardly talking franchises here. I mean, you know, Nick Robinson and Joe Farrelly Jr. and Billy Lord, they've all, you know,
and time. that
We lost Matt.
got fun.
But yeah, that got really heated really quickly. But it's not over yet. You've got a 1 minute closing. And Joe, because you went first in the opening, Matt, you're going to go first in the closing. 1 minute is on the clock, and time begins when you start talking.
So yeah, my character is a little off the board, but with who they are and who they've worked with, their comedic and their timing would be still together. Barney and Robin have worked together before. Haley Kuka and Jason Sudeikis actually did a indie film together. Jason Biggs, an Emmy-winning TV show. So why not put them together, have them move up a little bit in their age, and not start them just out of college? Maybe have them start when they're just, maybe a couple of years into their career and have them start the beginning of the show. Just so, like you said, it's not a carbon copy ripoff of the original show.
And I think it's just on time there. Joe, you got 1 minute to close. Time begins when you start talking.
Matt, I agree. I can see exactly where you're coming from with your cast list. My issue is you're supposed to believe these characters are fresh out of college and starting their careers. That's the point of the story, showing each of their characters' development. The age gap is so jarring. If this was recasting of The Office, then I could see the age gap, but it's not. This is How I Met Your Mother. These people need all, their backstories. They went to college together. Well, the main three did, and they all met outside of there. There's a couple of small changes from mine, so it's not completely the carbon copy show. Robin being British instead of Canadian, things like that. I think this cast is young, it's up and coming. They've got a lot to prove, and I think they could break out. Look what happened with Neil Patrick Harris. Look what happened with Jason Segel. It'd be a fun show, be an interesting show, and can definitely cover some new ground.
And time. There was a really heated debate. I think the judges are pretty clear on this, but we need to do the formalities anyway. But first of all, I'm going to do a fact check on Matt, because Matt brought up Carl Urban and saying that he went from movies to TV. That is actually incorrect. He started in TV because he was in Shortland Street all the way over here in New Zealand. So
that's in New Zealand. That never came out here. That never came out here.
He still started on TV before he went to movies. It doesn't matter where it came out. It still happened. But anyway, Joe easily gets the point for this for me. He brought up a lot of points about why his cast worked, and personally, I think you can put both casts together, and Matt's will be a perfect older version of the cast, and that could make an interesting combined fun. But Joe does get the point on this. Kevin, who are you going to give your point to and why?
I agree with you, Malcolm, in that Joe made a lot of good points about the age gap, about how the story wouldn't really work that well. It would really be interesting to bring Little Dewey back, to see Billy Lord. I'd love to see them in that sitcom kind of setting, and see what kind of chops they could bring to that. However, I'm of the mindset where I can suspend my disbelief when it comes to age and stuff like that. So when I was thinking about these characters that Matt brought up, Jason Biggs and his awkwardness on camera, Sudeikis and the way he can go from being hilarious to, like you said, tugging on the heartstrings. I'm not really sure. I think there was maybe some disconnect on who you said for Robin, but that's not that important. Kaylee Cuoco, I like her a lot. She would make a good Lily. I love Matt Bomer. And then you brought up how it could be not a copy of the original. I like that idea too. So I'm going to give my point to Matt, and we'll see what Nick has to say.
Which means, Nikki, you're the deciding vote. Who are you going to give your point to and why? No pressure.
Okay, so first off, Joe, I think he made a lot of good points. He argued his points well. He picked a lot of actors that are young, up-and-coming actors that I think are good, like, movie actors, but they're not too big in movies yet that they couldn't appear on TV. Matt, I think you made a really good point where you said that it wouldn't have to be an exact shot-for-shot remake of the original, which is actually, I think if they do ever reboot How I Met Your Mother, I think it may be that sort of thing where it's just a different group of people and it's a different story about How I Met Your Mother, and it wouldn't need to be the same dynamic. So what it came down to for me is both of these casts, which cast would I kind of gravitate towards more? And Joe, I think your cast was just a little too immature for me, even though I think there were some good picks. I'm going to give my point to Maddie.
We're tied at 1-1. We're going to go through at least all four of these questions. But the next question is going to be: which classic 90s Nickelodeon TV show should be rebooted and why? And I'm going to go to Matt first for the opening. You got a minute and a half on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Nickelodeon in the 90s had classic TV shows. You could think of anything. But we live in trying times. We live in kind of dark times. And maybe being, the Nickelodeon teenager, we could use somebody to kind of fill in the gaps. So I went with Clarissa Explains It All. It took what was relevant during the time and broke it down on a teenager level. So there may be things going on in politics, in the world, whether it be terrorism, whether it be racism, and break it down on an emotional level for teenagers. So I went with Clarissa Explains It All.
All right. Joe, you got a minute and a half on the clock. Time begins when you.
Oh, this is an answer I've been looking forward to instead of just shouting it into the void of Twitter for a while. Do you know what people like these days? What people love? They love teen angst. Do you know what else they love? They like kids fighting against monsters. And that is why I have chosen to reboot Animorphs. Animorphs was a great, great TV show, hit in the late 90s on Nickelodeon. For those of you who weren't aware, it's about a group of kids witness an alien ship crash. Dying alien inside gives them the power to transform into any animal they touch in order to fight the invading aliens hitting their planet. This is the show we need. It had so much potential in its day, never quite found its feet. Based on a series of books, there's a wealth of information, a wealth of episodes you could do, and you could do it with better effects, better technology, and you can really tell a full and frank story, a full story with everything that's being done on streaming services now.
All right. 5 minutes is on the clock. Time begins when someone starts talking. It's definitely going to be an interesting battle.
Matt, I could open up Netflix right now and find plenty of shows that are trying to help show kids what's growing up. Euphoria, Riverdale, the list is endless. The thing with Animorphs is, compared to Clarissa Explains It All, Clarissa Explains It All was a great show. So was Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They rebooted that. It was good, but it never really quite found its audience. Never quite got people going, I remember that show. I'm going to watch this new one. No, it's not quite the same. The difference with Animorphs is it had the potential, but never found its feet. There's so much you could do with it now. You can go through the light moments, the dark moments, epic season finales. We're talking about a battle against aliens here. There's so much you could do with it. You know, the cast is diverse. The stories have got a wealth of depth. There's a history, flashbacks, prequels. This show can have absolutely everything. I mean, they've already remade Melissa Joan Hart's Best Show, and it didn't really find its audience.
Okay, let me describe something for you, as you put it. Kids get powers, start fighting, aliens or monsters, protect their city. Wait, didn't you just say Power Rangers? Oh, wait, no, you're talking about the lesser known one. You're talking about the one that didn't get off the ground. If they wanted that, it would just, people would say, wait, Nickelodeon's just remaking Power Rangers, which is still around to this day. As a matter of fact, Power Rangers has had multiple TV shows, movies, comic books. So people would just see a carbon copy ripoff. At least with Clarissa Explains It All, you would have a way to tell these stories. Kind of, yes, you brought up, Euphoria or 13 Reasons Why, but those are intense dramas. You could take what's going on in the world and explain it, but make it still lighthearted and family-friendly. But Animorphs is just a carbon copy ripoff of Power Rangers.
You see, that's where you're wrong. You see, that's the thing. So you're taking it on surface value. The thing with Animorphs is we're talking about, these aliens are parasitic. They could be in anyone. It's got a bit of invasion of the body snatchers about it. People love Stranger Things. They like seeing their kids fighting the monsters, but what they also like are the stories. But with Animorphs, you've got that metaphor as well. Who can you trust? Are people what they're showing themselves to be on the outside? One of the main kids, Tobias, in the very first book, the very first episode, one of the rules is you can't stay in the animal body for more than 2 hours, or you will be stuck. He gets stuck in the body of a falcon. And that's, again, you've got that metaphor. Are you feeling comfortable in your own body? Do you feel trapped inside your body? There's so many different stories, so many different ways you can tell it through the means of metaphor that I think it will speak to a much, much wider audience than a show that had its day. It's not something that is anyone really asking for that remake? You can go on Twitter, and it's not just my Twitter, I promise, that's asking for this remake of Animorphs. This is the time for that remake. The streaming services, the remakes, not only that, but the improved special effects. This is a show that needs to be remade, and it's a show that should be remade.
Can you fact check that, Malcolm? I'd like that fact check that people are actually asking for the Animorphs remake. Okay, so you're saying that people aren't what they seem on the outside. Guess what? Season 1 of Power Rangers, you had Tommy, or season 2, I'm sorry, of the original Power Rangers, had Tommy, the Green Ranger. He was put there by the bad guy to get in with these kids. And guess what? He wanted to be a Power Ranger. He couldn't do it at the time. So Rita gave him the power of the Green Ranger, who on the surface, they thought he was a friend. But on the other side of the coin, he was actually out to get them. Just like So what are you saying? Because he's trapped in a body, he's uncomfortable with himself? You could have a full entire episode of Clarissa Explains It All where her family, where this person's, at school being friendly, being nice, what have you, and goes home to a family with drug problems. So just because what's on the outside isn't what's on the inside, you could actually do more with a show where it's actually explaining what goes on in these children's lives at home or even in the world, but not what's being shown on the outside.
Time. We've got 1 minute on the clock for the closing, and because Matt started off the opening, Joe, you're going to go first on the closing. 1 minute starts when you start talking.
kids these days don't need it explained to them in such an obvious way. You know, just a girl sitting on a bed reading from her diary telling you exactly how to feel, how these things should be. With Animorphs, you've got that metaphor, you've got that subtext, you've got a lot more depth to it. And it's not just about, you know, who can you trust? It's about feeling comfortable, being who you are, and being together as a team, being together as a family. You know, one of the characters is, his mother's dead. You know, there's so much going on in that show. There's so many different aspects. Even in the books, the kids were already diverse. It's much more open, much more expansive, and much more open to interpretation. A Netflix series, anything like that, give it the funding, the effects it needs, because that's the only thing that was really lacking in that original series.
All right. Matt, time for you to wrap it up in a nice bow. 1 minute is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Kids nowadays are having trouble expressing what's going on in their lives. You could have them come out and express it through a TV show, you know, whether it be cutting, whether it be mom or dad has a drug or alcohol problem, scared. You could have an episode where a black kid gets scared of walking down the street because he doesn't want to be racially profiled. You could have a certain main character explain that, so it opens the eyes to the world. Animorphs is just a cheap PG knockoff of Power Rangers. They're a diverse group. That's what the whole beginning of the Power Rangers is. They're a group of kids in high school that come together that get powers from an alien to protect their planet. So basically, all you're doing is pitching Power Rangers season 32.
And that's right on time. And I did do a fact check. I found a few articles of people explaining why we need a Animorphs remake, and also found a Change.com petition with over 200 supporters of people looking for Animorphs remake. So
I got another fact check.
tweets me.
So
There was,
people.
Let me
Yeah.
guess, Joe, you
Fact check for
created that,
Maddie.
didn't you?
I actually do tweets.
Yeah, that was the fact check for Matt. So
But Tommy was actually, if you officially, like, quote unquote, Tommy was in season 1 of Power Rangers if you watch it on Netflix. That was another thing I heard.
But yeah, but Kevin, I'm going to go to you first. Who are you going to give your point to and why?
I'm gonna start off with I'll start off with Matt. I like how you said that Clarissa explains it all, takes what's going on, and it breaks it down for teenagers in the world today to understand what's going on politically in this climate and the way things are going nowadays. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a child or a teenager growing up. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure how many shows there are out there. Joe brought up some shows, and so I'll jump to that. He brought up Euphoria, Riverdale. So him bringing those up, you didn't really retort to that. So jumping into Animorphs, I need to write down to go sign that petition. But I do love Animorphs. But yeah, I do agree with you. The technology, the streaming services, I like how it is open to interpretation. There were some Power Rangers seasons that I feel like were open to interpretation, like when Tommy was under Rita's spell, that whole deal. But not the whole thing. It was, but mostly just cut and dry. But Animorphs definitely had more to it. And nowadays they could put even more into it with the LGBTQ plus community. So to wrap all that up and sum it all up, I'll give my point to Joe.
And Nikki, who are you going to give your point to and why?
Okay, so Maddie had a good pull with Clarissa Explains It All. That's honestly a show that I forgot about until you brought it up. And then as soon as you brought it up, I just started flashing back to all these episodes. Animorphs, another good pull. That's one of those shows. I think it was smart. It was one of those shows that I remember, like you said, angsty, sexy. It was one of those shows that just caught my attention when I was a kid. Now, I think Clarissa Explains It All is one that I think might actually be more likely to get a remake of. But Joe, I got to give the point to Joe because Animorphs, come on, that would be so cool.
Yeah, and with that, Joe does get the point here. We do still have a question. If Joe gets this point, then he wins. If Matt gets it right, if Matt gets the point, then we go to the speed round, which I kind of hope we do get here, but because I like the speed round question, but this question is, which TV character would you most like to be married to? Nice fun question, and Joe's going to go first on the opening here. Joe, 1.5 minutes is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Oh, this was a really, really hard question because it's not just about who you want to be married to. You also got to think about, what a marriage is. And I think with marriage, you need a lot of give and take. You need differences. You need similarities, things that you can bring, things that they can bring to the relationship. And for that reason, I chose Brooklyn Nine-Nine's Amy Santiago. I'll go into a little bit depth as to why when we get round to the full round, but I already think it's a good match because she's already married to one cop who loves movies, so why not just have another?
Right. Matt, 1.5 minutes is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
A marriage is compromise. You've got to find somebody who will take you with your bullshit, but then not also be afraid to call you out on it. The person I chose is Marge Simpson. Not only is she a family woman, she knows how to raise her kids. She's got an abusive husband who, to this day, after 20-some years, she's still with. He's gotten them thrown out of town. He drinks till oblivion. He loses his job multiple times, but she's still there for it. So,
all right. So this is definitely going to be an interesting battle. And 5 minutes is on the clock. Time begins when someone starts talking.
So you said it's sure she's married to a cop who loves movies. You could look on TV. You could look around and find anybody who is, but you've got to find somebody who will pick you up when you're down. If you're gonna, if you kick her while she's down, she's just gonna roll with the punches. Her son is probably one of the worst kids in Springfield. Has she thrown him in military school? Has she whooped his ass, left him outside? No. She's still the perfect mother. She's still the perfect wife. And that's Marge Simpson.
You've illustrated perfectly why she'd be a great mother. But we're talking about, why you want to be married to this person. And I've said, we already know that there's something she likes about cops who loves movies, which is already a good start for me. But it's not just that, it's about the differences, what you can bring, what you can take away. She's from New York, I'm from London. There's already those differences here, different styles, different things that we can improve each other's careers, improve each other, just change the way we work, considering different things. She likes a guy who loves Die Hard. She's willing to dress up as Holly Gennaro for that person. That's someone who's willing to make the sacrifice even if it's not hers. She's a very, very organized and a very, very neat person, which, is something that will help me improve my life because it's definitely something that I need. But it's not just that. It's also the small things. Who likes to get flirty after 4 drinks? I know I do. I know Amy Santiago does too. Who doesn't sometimes go into a little shame spiral and have a little shame cigarette? Yeah, a little bit. There's those little things that you can just share together, even if it's something small. I think Marge is just that. She's perfect for Homer, but she's very, very, and she's very, very forgiving. But sometimes you want a little bit more than that. Someone who'll challenge you, someone who really will call you on your bullshit, and someone who won't stand for the Homer Simpsons kind of bullshit.
Okay, yeah, you were talking about that. There's one major thing you brought up, though. Exactly. She's in New York and you're in London. There's, maybe this little gap between the two of you. That would probably be a problem right there. I don't, unless you're in, a Simon Pegg, Nick Frost movie, I don't think there's, a police force like 9’9 in London. I mean, I could be wrong, but, and you were talking about the way she dressed up. Marge Simpson posed in Playboy. Let's all not forget that, and that can be fact-checked. Marge Simpson posed in Playboy. I'm a big, Survivor fan. So was Marge. Marge and Homer actually tried to compete on Survivor or something mile, where they race around the world. The Amazing Race. I love shows like that. She's perfect for Homer. I'm a fat white guy. I'm a fat middle-aged white guy myself. So that makes her perfect for me, just like you said. We've seen Marge drink a few times. She does enjoy a glass of wine every now and then. She's a perfect mother, which means, guess what? I'm a single dad, so that would help her case right there. She could help raise my son with me as well. We all have our ups and our downs. Homer may have a lot of downs, but so I look like $1 million compared to him.
You know what comes with a marriage? Sometimes it comes to family. And you know what? I get to meet a nice, cool Lin-Manuel Miranda brother. You have to deal with Patty and Selma. That is something that you're going to have to that is something you're going to have to put up with in your life. And I'm perfectly willing to transfer to New York.
Talk about family members. My ex-wife's family member was so bad that she got high as when she first had her child and let somebody pour battery acid on her child's legs. So Patty and Selma's nothing. I promise you, I can deal with it. They don't like Homer because Homer's a loser. I'm not. I'm a single, hardworking dad who takes care of a sick child. They would get along with me.
Now, if you can win Patty and Selma over, that is pretty impressive. But we're still talking about the relationship here, and I just think that give and take, the benefits, the things that you offer each other. I think there's a lot more that I could say that if I was married to Amy Santiago, that we would offer each other and give to each other than a relationship between
time
would be.
Wow. Great match, dude.
All right. 1 minute is on the clock. You've still got the closings. But Matt, Joe started off the opening, so Matt, you go first on the closing. 1 minute is on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
So he brings up give and take. You know what? She's going to call me on my bullshit. I'll call her on hers. We can raise my son together. We can raise her kids together. And if they get out of hand, we'll deal with that together. Unlike her current husband, who doesn't care. He would rather go out to a bar and get drunk. Let's sit down together. Let's work through it. And at the end of the night, let's kick back and watch Survivor or The Amazing Race together. You can help me. She can help me study for matches like this. I can help her sell her scented candles, or at the time, the stones she sold. Marge is the perfect woman. He said that his would dress up for him. Marge posed in Playboy, so maybe I'll get one of those, rated R, rated X. I am the host of After Dark. Maybe I'll get an After Dark picture for her.
There's one on the button. Joe, you got a minute on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
You're going to call Marge out on her bullshit. What's she going to go a bit too loudly? You know, Marge doesn't really have that many defects. But the thing is, you're going to have. You said about support. You know, Amy. It took a lot for her to confess to Jake about her being basically a victim of the Me Too situation. You know, and that's something you got to be there for. You got to be able to listen to it. But after all said and done, you can just kick back, help each other organise your crime paperwork, watch Die Hard, and organise a nice, fun Halloween heist.
But yeah, before we go to the judges, I'm going to do Matt's fact check. Marge did in fact pose for Playboy.
Yes, yes, I checked that as well. Very tasteful.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Nikki first. Nikki, who are you going to give your point to and why?
Okay, so I gotta say, Joe, I didn't know who your person was when this match started. Maddie, as soon as you said Marge Simpson, I started cracking up laughing, but it's an interesting pull. Joe, I feel like you really sunk deep into this scenario and actually envisioned yourself marrying this woman. And then Maddie, I think, on the other hand, you went and saw what he was doing and then responded by explaining why you would be the perfect husband for Marge. So I'm sorry, Maddie. I got to give the point to Joe. I just think he answered the question better. I didn't know who his character was when he started it, but I feel like he actually envisioned a life with this woman. So
yeah, I'm going to go next. And yeah, Matt did, unfortunately, you sort of switching the question around, going why you'd be the perfect husband, kind of didn't work too much in your favor. It sounds like Joe's been thinking of this question for a long time, and it just had it all planned out before I even put the question in, for this debate. So, yeah, so Joe's getting the point and the victory here. Joe, this is your debut into TV fights. About how do you feel about how it all went?
Yeah, Amy Santiago came to me just before I submitted the answer. I was really actually struggled with that one, so I just had to find someone who was a bit similar to me and who are they married to. So I went with I found Jake Peralt as I went. Oh, that'll do. But yeah, Animal's gone was personal.
But is there anyone you're looking at potentially facing? I think I know who your next opponent will be, but is there anyone you're looking at facing?
Not really. I'm enjoying just sort of, especially with debuts. You never know. Whether it's just the luck of the questions or anything like that. So sometimes you just like to put feelers out. Then again, I do have a soft spot for Tony Heel. So.
I think everyone is gunning for Tony. I mean, he really likes to talk. He unfortunately hasn't signed up to be in TV fights, so I can't put you up against him. But I mean, if he ever signs up, I might even make that happen just for the fun of it.
We had a really good movie trivia face-off match recently, which I can't wait to drop. It's one of the funniest things I've ever done in my life.
But yeah, Matt, unfortunately, you didn't manage to pull out the win here today. But how do you feel about your first foray into TV fights?
It was fun, Joe. What a great fight, It was a lot of fun back and forth. Hey, what can I say? You obviously have been thinking about who you want to marry from TV. I was hoping pulling that Marge and Playboy comment would throw him off his game a little bit, but it's all good. It was fun. I can't wait to jump back in the ring. Maybe this time I'll actually, not have to guess my way through one of these questions. So it was fun.
Just for clarification, I've never seen King of the Hill or Clarissa Explains It All.
But yeah, brings us to the end of another late TV fights. But Nikki, where can people find you online?
You can find me on YouTube at on Nikki Flicks on YouTube and at Nikki Sullivan on Twitter. I'm doing a lot of like 3D printing lately. I'm hoping to do more movie reviews soon, and my mic stand just fell. Hey.
But Kevin, you'll be facing off in late TV fights next week, which will be the next one to drop after this, hopefully. Otherwise, I look like a fool by doing saying this. But we can be find you online.
I'm looking forward to that, and you can find me online on Facebook and on Twitter at @pos_Kevin.
Matt, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook at Matt Graham, or you can find me right here on TMG every Tuesday at 11 p.m. EST for After Dark.
And Joe, where can people find you online?
Mostly on Twitter, you'll find me at Joe Ed Farrelly. It's mostly talking about movies or football or the Heathens soccer. You also find me over at the Movie Trivia Face Off, Joe Hot Fuzz Farrelly, hopefully having a couple of matches dropping soon. And also head over to Full Metal Classics James Bond match, where I recently competed and had an absolutely great time.
And you can find me all over Take 3 hosting Rankum, usually every Sunday nights. But after this drop, we had a Friday one on comedy movie sequels. Hopefully, I don't know if that's happening yet, but you can find me on Full Metal hosting Formula Random all the time and competing in trivia all over the place. But until next time, stay tuned.